Hey, I'm Matt Lownes here at LTV, and this is Ask The Supervisor. Today is Monday, November 29th, and obviously I'm here with Town Supervisor Peter Van Scoyoc. Peter, how you doing? How was your Thanksgiving?
I'm doing great. I had a terrific time with family, a lot of extended family. First time in 2 years we've had Thanksgiving together. Everybody's fully vaccinated with boosters, and it was terrific. A lot of fun.
Two rapid fire Thanksgiving questions.
Sure.
What's the most overrated thing on the Thanksgiving table as far as food goes, in your opinion?
Overrated.
Hmm.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, we had so many different really good dishes, and everybody has sort of their own specialty that we've perfected over the years. I help Marilyn cook the bird. I'm in charge of the gravy also. I do the roasted vegetables, the root vegetables, the squash, parsnips, carrots, sweet potato, and then Aunt Sue does the pies. She does these amazing pecan pies, apple pie, raspberry apple pie, chocolate pie. Everybody has their own thing. So the most overrated, gosh, food, I don't know. I don't think any of it's overrated. I look forward to it every year.
I think I need to get an invite to the Van Scoyoc Thanksgiving.
Okay, grandma's stuffing's the most overrated.
Ooh, okay.
I'm gonna get in trouble for this with
Uh-oh.
one member of my in-laws family who absolutely loves grandma's stuffing, but it's really bland. She put nothing really much in it. It's more like a bread pudding. Uh, but so every year there's one portion that's basically made for that one family member who just loves it. But that's overrated in my opinion. The other stuffing that has all the nice seasonings and uh, you know I don't know, diced onion and what celery,
Hmm.
much better. Someday I plan on doing an oyster stuffing, but my brother-in-law is allergic to shellfish, so if we're going to visit them in Vermont, that's not going to happen. But someday, oyster stuffing.
Now, what's your favorite tradition about Thanksgiving? Is there anything specific for you?
I mean, for me personally, it's just it's really the gathering of all the family members and spending time with your friends and loved ones. It's just was really great, especially after being isolated and separated from them. We had a number of losses in the family in the last 2 years since we last had Thanksgiving. Several of our mothers passed on, and so it's just great to see everybody be able to spend that time together.
For me, it's the football. I'm a big fan of the football on Thanksgiving. You sit there, you watch three football games. You don't have to get off the couch. I love it.
There were some great football games, and there was a lot of football watched in the household too. Uh,
Do you guys play football? Do you do the turkey backyard?
we don't. We ski in toboggan, so they had about 6 to 8 inches of snow
Wow.
that fell in a storm on Friday, and it's like seeing like the third generation of nieces and nephews out there with the dogs going down the big hill in the meadow right from the house. That's just fun.
Sounds like you had a fantastic and much deserved
I,
Thanksgiving escape.
I feel like I deserved it. It's been a long 620 some days,
Who's counting?
but who's counting?
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the topics of this week. Although it doesn't really affect East Hampton, as I just found out, Governor Kathy Hochul has a presumptive state of emergency that begins on Thursday, December 3rd. This is due to the new outbreak, Delta Omicron. It has not been confirmed that there is a single Omicron case in the United States, so I do not want to scare anyone at home, but it's a presumptive measure. Peter, does this have any effect on East Hampton town?
Well, I think we're going to be monitoring very carefully, closely the impacts of this new mutant variant, and you know, first reports are that it spreads even more rapidly than the Delta variant did. And we saw how much more quickly that spread than the original virus. So that's a concern. Viruses generally don't become more virulent, as ultimately it's counterproductive for them to replicate. They need hosts, and if they're killing off their hosts too quickly, then it doesn't get spread. So we'll be watching very carefully to see if it's more dangerous than the existing variants. If you're fully vaccinated, your chances of serious illness are greatly reduced. And the town will be providing vaccination clinics here at Town Hall on Monday, December 13th, and on December 20th, I believe from 8 to 4. You can go to the town website, ehamptonny.gov, and you can find the link to sign up for an appointment. You'll need an appointment. You need to have been vaccinated at least 6 months from your last dose of vaccine if you're getting a booster. And if you get a first dose, we're giving those as well. We have Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson that can be administered. So if you're not vaccinated, please get vaccinated. We're in the cold season now, and people are going to be spending a lot more time indoors. I think the governor, is taking a very prudent step here. New York was the epicenter, worldwide epicenter, because we have the international airports and all the travel. It's an international travel hub. I don't think it will be very long before this Omicron variant shows up here, and it's likely to show up in New York first, given the demographics and the world travel and all of that. So the town has actually been in a state of emergency straight through that has not been lifted, even though the safety concerns did wane, and we did get back to in-person meetings for a little while. Delta variant changed all of that, but primarily the reason the emergency declaration stays in effect was partially just to help our local businesses, restaurants, suspending the zoning laws that would prohibit or further limit outdoor dining. So we thought it was important to maintain that ability of restaurants throughout the warmer months. So we'll continue to monitor the situation. Hopefully this is all over soon. I think we're all ready for it to be over. But in the meantime, if you're indoors, you really should be wearing masks indoors in public places. If you're going to the grocery store shopping, just put the mask on. It really makes a big difference in reducing the spread of the virus. And if you're fully vaccinated and you're masked in public places, you're not likely to get sick. And if you do get sick, you're not likely to be seriously ill.
That is all very true. You can go get your boosters, you can get your vaccinations, you can get your flu shot. Everything is available in the town of East Hampton, as Peter said. Peter, let's move on to the wonderful news of the South Fork wind farm passed. It's going to be built, is my understanding.
Yeah, so there are several milestones that have just occurred. The Bureau of Ocean Energy Management had done their final sign off. The New York Power Service Commission has also approved the maintenance, the EMCP, which is the environmental and construction plans for the project. That's moved forward. So I think we'll see actual work begin on the project early in 2022.
I have a few follow-up questions with this. What are the financial long-term impacts of having the wind farm? Is it going to directly lower costs for energy in East Hampton, or is there anything that you can let us know about that now?
Well, there are a number of economic impacts. One is that we negotiated a $29 million community benefits package where the developers will be paying us over the lifespan of the project, roughly $29 million to the town of East Hampton for the rights to bury a cable under the town roadways, basically about 2.5 mile stretch from the end of Beach Lane, the Atlantic Ocean, up to the Long Island Railroad. Then it will be buried along the LIRR right of way to the Cove Hall substation. So there's that aspect economically. The costs of power fluctuate based on the cost of fossil fuels. Whether it's oil or coal or gas fired plants, those are commodities that are constantly fluctuating in price. The offshore wind farm has delivered a price under a contract per kilowatt, and it's roughly going to add, I think, about $1.50 to the ratepayers' monthly bill over the course of the next 20 years. So, those are, you're not paying for fuel costs when you're generating electricity that way. Operation and maintenance of the turbines and the cable, but you're not paying for fuel. So it'll be a much more steady cost. And as you see other larger wind farms come online, Sunrise Wind, you'll see that the cost of producing that electricity will continue to decline. It could be as low as 6 or 8 cents a kilowatt hour by the time those larger wind farms come online. And again, this is renewable energy, it's clean energy. So you have the added benefits of not creating greenhouse gases, reducing carbon footprint and pollution. I mean, if you think about the emissions, not just in terms of climate change and sea level rise, but impacts on human health, asthma, other respiratory diseases. There are thousands of Americans that die every year to respiratory diseases directly linked to the burning of fossil fuels.
Yeah, and I think one thing that many people may not understand or maybe have wrong assumptions about is the environmental impacts of a wind farm. The average person, they think of Germany because they're very advanced with the wind farms, and then they think of the birds flying into the turbines themselves. In what ways is the town and the construction company that is actually making the turbines doing about the different environmental factors, whether it be the birds or the water life underneath the turbines? Is there any major things that need to be done prior?
So there has been extensive review by multiple agencies. Just the state portion, there are over 70 different stakeholders and interested parties in the settlement agreements. And it's received full environmental review from both the state agencies and the federal government, with a number of environmental organizations also participating, raising concerns from what the impact of pile driving in an offshore environment might have on whales and other sea life, vibrations and noise, to, as you say, the impact on birds offshore. All of those have been studied and looked at. And when you look at the overall environmental impacts, the result of those studies basically supports that these wind turbines will have a net positive effect on the environment overall, and any negative aspects are going to be mitigated to the greatest extent possible. And there's some pretty innovative ways to approach that. I know one of the discussions about how to limit the sound of pile driving included putting up curtains of bubbles in the water to disrupt the sound waves from that. So you could put pneumatic lines with with holes in them and put up curtains of bubbles to disrupt that sound and contain it. So, construction during the migration period for the North Atlantic right whale, for instance, is going to be very restricted, limited, if not closed completely during those windows when the very endangered right whale will be migrating through the area. So a lot of precautions will be taken. There will be a lot of, follow-up and scrutiny paid to all the different aspects of the construction going forward. The town is going to continue to be diligent in our onshore portion to make sure that our requirements are met. And, I think overall, this is, again, a milestone. We're moving towards the direction we need to go. We need to get there quickly and efficiently, but without sacrificing, environment and other aspects as we go along.
Last question, and that sounds great that the town has really dotted their T's and crossed their I's. I said that backwards. Dot their I's, cross their T's. And this is what happens when you get a millennium saying an older phrase. Anyway, it's good that the town has checked into all the environmental effects of it. Last question about the wind farm, and then we'll move on. My understanding when I was reading the Easthampton Star article was this is not only a big deal for the state of New York and Suffolk County, but it's a really big deal for the entire country. Governor Hochul, whether it was her or state officials, county officials, local officials, it seems like this is going to be somewhat of a blueprint for future wind farms across America. And can you kind of explain Easthampton's role in this from the beginning to now?
So our role, we declared a 100% renewable energy goal for the electric sector by 2020, back in 2014. And I'd been on the board for about 2 years at that point. And that was a very aggressive goal. In fact, we were the first community in New York to do so. And in order to reach that goal, we had to look at alternative sources of energy. And I think partially because we had taken those steps when LIPA looked at other energy procurement, the expanding demand, particularly on the South Fork for more energy, would require more energy generation. And, we, of course, felt very strongly that it shouldn't include fossil fuel fired peaker plants to make up for that deficit. We needed to transition to offshore wind. The area off the New England coast has been called the Saudi Arabia of wind, offshore wind, because where oil reserves are huge in that portion of the Middle East, the wind blows a lot off the coast of New England. It has some of the most consistent winds for generating electricity. So that was another, factor that I think drew attention to this area. So those factors all came together so that when LIPA was looking for new sources to generate electricity, they went through a competitive bidding process. Deepwater Wind, which had just done the Block Island turbines, responded to that bidding process and was awarded on their lease offshore that procurement of electricity. So those agreements went forward, and then the process of them coming to the town looking for a cable landing site began. 4.5 years later, we arrived at a location, and it's been a long and lengthy process. And I think, what I've learned is that in my time in office is that many people support efforts. And with the renewable energy, I think at least 80% of our local population supported offshore wind. Citing the cable gets a little more controversial. And while there are some who supported offshore wind. They just didn't want it in their neighborhood. And that, causes for additional delays and additional scrutiny. Not that that's bad. I think it's important to have that discussion with the community and try and get down to what the real substantive and legitimate concerns are so that they can be addressed. But it's 6.5 years now later, and it'll be another couple of years before that comes online. It comes online in 2023. So we're not hitting our target date per se, but if you don't aim high, you won't get far either. So,
well, I could promise East Hampton residents one thing. The only zip code it's going to be near are the fishermen. It's 35 miles off of Montauk Point is what it said in the newspaper. So it's not going to be in your backyard. Let's move on to the town board approval of purchasing a $6.845 million purchase of 28, 30, and 32 Green Hollow Road. I'm going to give some background here. $4.2 million came from the CPF fund, while $2.645 million came from surrounding neighbors. This was a very tight vote on the town board, 3-2, split vote. Peter, first question, can you give your rationale behind purchasing the land as you voted yes?
Sure. These are 3 lots that are adjacent. They're completely wooded lots adjacent to property that the town owns the development rights. It's currently being farmed, and it's about 7 acres. It's part of the old Abe Katz farm. Abe Katz was the dairy farmer who originally operated Dune Alpine Farm. And so that parcel is also surrounded by another, I think, 32 acres, nearby 32 acres of reserved land. The majority felt it was very important to not let 3 more giant houses be built and have that woodland completely stripped and denuded between, the farm field. Having that woodland buffer there was important for ecological reasons, habitat reasons. Those lots are in a special groundwater protection zone. And it's a lot of money, and that's really, the market's driven to some degree by the fact that waterfront properties and farm vista properties just command a greater price in the market. We know how hot the market's been. There were a number of spec builders lined up to buy these parcels. There were certified bids that were at that price, plus our appraisal showed it being highly valued like that. So to be able to purchase and prevent 3 more big houses, 3 more swimming pools, 3 more landscaping companies coming every week, 3 more, this all generates traffic. On our roadways, all the service industry that would need to go there. There's no regulation of pesticides and herbicides. We know that these landscapes get developed and they get heavily sprayed to maintain ornamental shrubs and perfect lawns. And I just felt it was really important. I think the town is at a crossroad, and that we need to try to purchase and save the remaining vistas that we have that retain our rural character. And when you have the ability to buy parcels like that below and then spend less than market value with CPF and have that supplemented by neighbors and other people within town who felt it was an important enough purchase to put in their own money, that's a great deal for everyone. Not every piece of property has to have a hiking trail on it to be of value. Not every piece of property has to have a recreational component. Doesn't have to be something that is directly benefiting humans for us to benefit. I think it's really important we protect our woodland habitat that's still intact, especially in a highly productive area. And we know that habitats of woodland immediately adjacent to meadow or open field are more productive and are homes for many more different types of animals as well. So all of these things in my mind added up to what I thought was a sound and appropriate purchase. And, again, as you said, it was a divided vote. And there were differing opinions on the property acquisition, and I think that's fine.
My one follow-up question, based on the article in the East Hampton Star, uh, I'm not going to say names or anything, but two of the reasons, or one of the main reasons that the vote was close, was the fact that the town, historically speaking, generally purchases homes that are listed as A ratings, and this was listed as a B rating. Can you explain the difference between the two ratings and why, historically speaking, the town preferred A rating?
Yeah, I don't think it's so much historically purchasing that. It's if you have prioritized properties based on certain ratings, and again, it's A, B, C, B being more of an average type property. Not every property is a really highly rated standout property. We purchased, I helped negotiate a deal to purchase the 32 acres of farmland north of the Amagansett Hamlet Center, the Bistrian acquisition. And, farmland is at a premium. And there's not a lot of it left, prime ag soils. This was something that was important to keep in perpetuity. That had an A rating. But there have been other purchases that we've made that were B ratings. And I think, for some, at least one of the board members, I think, was having a hard time looking at the value, what it was costing to buy the acreage, and having a hard time with that. At the same time, got over $70 million, prices went up. The revenue coming into the CPF fund is at historic records too. So when you balance that, the dramatic increase in revenue with the dramatic increase in price, the two kind of cancel each other out to some degree. So
Now, just to clarify, the town does not have any plans as of right now to turn that land into, whether it be affordable housing or something else. Right now, we're just going to keep it nature and farm.
You can't use CPF funds for affordable housing or any kind of other development. You can use it for passive or active recreation. This is a relatively small area, and it's not readily accessible to major roadway or something like that. There's not really room for parking. It will be public lands. If somebody wants to go bird watch in there, they're welcome to do that. But it's not a piece that we're going to be paving a recreational trail through. That is available not too far away on the 25-acre parcel of Buckskill Preserve. There's a half-mile loop, and I think we talked about that back on the 15th. You asked about that resolution. So again, there's, I think, fewer and fewer vistas that we have across farm fields that have wooded backgrounds. If you look in Southampton, when you drive past farm fields, you see rows and rows of houses at the back of those fields. And it really diminishes the character and the feel of the community, I think, not to mention the additional traffic of having 3 mega homes that have all the services that they require to maintain. The impacts on groundwater in a special groundwater protection area, all of those things to me added up to making this purchase.
No, yeah. I mean, I just wanted to clarify a few things, as it's interesting to see a vote close like that and to see both sides of it. I appreciate you explaining that. We are over, actually. First time in a while. If you have any last minute announcements that you'd like to let everybody know, go right ahead.
Well, yeah, I do. I want to say that, East Hampton, our Energize East Hampton programs now taking another step. We're making it easier and more affordable to explore green heating and cooling solutions And we just put out a press release today about that. This campaign is supported by the New York NYSERDA Clean Energy Communities Program, and it basically helps connect residents with business owners and contractors that will help them, complete a energy audit of their property to help them understand how they can upgrade their heating, cooling systems to much more energy efficient, sustainable equipment, and just explore those alternatives. So, you can visit energizeeh.org outreach events and register for a webinar that we have coming up. That we'll be hosting a webinar on December 7th at 5:30 p.m. to introduce the campaign and the installation partners to the community. So check it out. You can go on the town website also, easthamptonny.gov, and look it up. It'll be up there on the front page. And
awesome. That sounds great. Peter, thanks for doing this. I'll see you again next Monday. It's almost December already.
Thanks, Matt. Stay safe and be well, everyone.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Have a good night.